Orange River Tiger Music. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of January 27, 2015 is now called to order. The time is 6:01 p.m. At this time, we request that all cellular phones and/or pagers be turned off or put in the silent mode. Also, we ask that you please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentations portion of the meeting. We would like to take this opportunity to remind members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student reaches his or her highest personal potential, and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Prior to the start of this evening's board meeting, we have been enjoying the Tiger Singers from Orange River Elementary School under the direction of Ms. Becky Eckstadt. At this time, they will present one more song.
We are so glad that we didn't have to have a snow day today, like some people in our country. But we'll sing about it, because it is fun.
I get up, I can't believe my Gorgeous. Great job, kids. Great job.
There you go. All right, one more time. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the presentation of colors and Pledge of Allegiance, 5 recognitions, 1 acknowledgement, public comment, consent action items, which include 4 items under resolutions, 2 items under executive services, 4 items under business and finance, 6 items under operations, 2 items under teaching and learning, 2 superintendent recommendations, and 2 items for public hearing, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Dozier. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Mrs. La Riviere will deliver the invocation, after which Ms. Fisher will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. After the special presentations portion of the agenda, a brief recess will be called to allow those who wish to depart an opportunity to do so. Please rise for the invocation.
Let us pray. Father, I just thank you that we can come before you and we can call you Father, and that you care about every single person here. Father, I thank you for the staff members you have provided us to teach our children, for the staff members that are there to help keep our buildings and facilities clean and neat, for those who provide safe transportation to and from home to school. Father, for administrators that work within our school and those who provide services down here in the district level that just, they're constant busy worker bees here with all the different tasks that they do. And I just thank you for all that you provide with them. Lord, I ask that you bless this meeting. I thank you, Lord, that we are not having a snow day. Father, I pray for those who are experiencing that snow day and the blizzards and the power outages. We who've experienced those hurricane outages know a little bit of what we're going through. But Lord, we have no concept of what it is to go through that and when it's really freezing outside. I pray that you would provide people that would be able to meet their needs and that emergency services would be able to take care of things expeditiously for them. Father, bless our meeting, give us wisdom and guidance, and may all that we do and say be totally focused on the students that we serve here in the school district of Lee County. In your precious name, amen.
Amen.
The cadet presenting the national colors tonight will be introduced by Major Steve Falk. Major Falk has been the senior Army instructor at Riverdale High School since 1996. He retired from the U.S. Army after 20 years of service as a logistics officer and helicopter test pilot. Major Falk holds a bachelor's degree from West Virginia University in physical education and social studies. Welcome.
Thank you. The national colors for the Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be presented by Cadet Major Thomas Hitchcock. He is the Riverdale Raider Battalion Commander, and he is in his 4th year in JROTC. Cadet Hitchcock has been a squad leader, company executive officer, as well as a member of the Color Guard, drill team, and rifle team. He has a 4.9 GPA in the International Baccalaureate program, and he has been a member of the marching band for 4 years. Thomas is pursuing an Army ROTC college scholarship, and he hopes to attend the University of Florida next fall to pursue a degree in engineering. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I always do this.
I would like the following to please join me at the lectern. Ms. Lori Brooks, Assistant Director, School Counseling Services, Student Services, Ms. Marianne Rodriguez, Ms. Jeriel Ruiz, 11th grade student at East Lee County High School, Mr. Jeff Mayer, TV production and digital design teacher at East Lee County High School. Jeriel Ruiz is the winner of the Character Education Digital Design Competition for the month of January. The school board and superintendent, oh, it's beautiful, are pleased to congratulate Jeriel for her creative design and supporting character education in our schools. And you have the
Beautiful design and great word. At this time, I'd like to invite the following students to join me at the lectern. As I call their names, I would ask that the representatives from the students' schools come forward. Bailey Gull, Challenger Middle School. Brady Inskeep, Cypress Lake Middle School. Adam Spick, Lexington Middle School. Daisy Aaronsman, the Sanibel School. Matthew McKeever, Three Oaks Middle School, and Abigail Lee, Varsity Lakes Middle School. I love middle school kids. I would also like to invite Marshall Bauer and Beverly Burke from the Foundation for Lee County Public Schools and George Miller from Cape 912 to come forward. The Foundation for Lee Public Schools, Cape 912, and the Lee County School District have partnered to support the teaching of the Constitution each year. Through their generosity, pocket constitutions were provided free to over 6,000 seventh grade students to support classroom instruction in U.S. history classes. In social studies and civics classes, students participated in an essay competition based on information in the Constitution. Each middle school chose the best essay to submit to the Foundation and Cape 912 for the competition. Mr. George Miller from Cape 912 will announce the author of the essay selected as the overall winner. Mr. Miller?
Thank you. The overall winner this year is a young lady named Bailey Gull. And her winning essay is titled Our Ever-Changing Constitution. I would ask Bailey to read her essay for you at this time. It's very good. Bailey, please. Do you have a copy?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Our ever-changing Constitution. Picture this: Jacob Andrews, a black veteran of the Civil War. Home, after a long-fought battle, he decides with a group of fellow black veterans to go vote. Imagine how they must be feeling: joyful, proud, bold. However, when they arrive, they're refused and turned away by a group of white men. They were good enough to risk their lives and fight for us, but they weren't good enough to vote. How would they feel now? Embarrassed, ashamed, livid? What would you do? Jacob Andrews fought hard for our country, but white men had the audacity to stop him and not let him vote. Different things happened and ideas changed, so the Constitution changed. Amendment 15 says that citizens of the United States have the right to vote no matter their race, color, or previous condition of servitude. This amendment was made mostly for former slaves freed by the 13th Amendment. Before, blacks were thought of as property and were only considered 3/5 of a white person, so they couldn't vote. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, an executive order which gave slaves their freedom. Then, in 1870, the 15th Amendment was ratified to help give, for example, African Americans back some equality with whites. Still, though, states found ways to keep them from voting. Most black people didn't even start voting until the 24th Amendment was passed, taking away the poll tax. Also, to counter anti-voting laws, the white men used the grandfather clause, which says, if your grandfather could vote, so could you. It was easy for white men because their grandfathers were never denied the right to vote. They were always free. For slaves, their grandfathers were also enslaved and weren't allowed to vote, so they couldn't vote. Times changed, circumstances changed, and everyone realized that voting needed to be more fair, so the 15th Amendment was approved. Alice Paul watched from her living room window as a long line of men laughed and joked around while waiting in line to vote. She was fuming. For years she had to watch this, and it wasn't fair. Hadn't she gone to college? Hadn't she worked hard enough? This was her country, too. She drew the curtains, thinking that one day all of her efforts would soon pay off, and she would have the freedom she deserved. Until then, she had dishes to do and food to cook. That's how life for many women went, until the 19th Amendment passed. The 19th Amendment states that citizens of the United States have the right to vote no matter their sex. The Constitution didn't stipulate whether or not women could vote, so states used what was established in the 10th Amendment. If the Constitution doesn't specifically give the powers to the federal government, it belongs to the states or the people. As a result, women couldn't vote. As time passed, women started to become more educated. In 1848, they joined together and were pushing towards women's voting rights. In 1920, the amendment was passed and women could finally vote. Envision this: Tyler King, 19 years old, a soldier. He was drafted when he was 18 and had been fighting ever since the escalation of troops in Vietnam. Now he can't walk. His left arm is gone, along with hearing in his right ear. He also has memory problems, but he can still remember the day when he asked his mother if he could vote after he returned home, and she said he couldn't. He had risked his life, almost died, yet because he was 2 years below the age restrictions, he couldn't vote for the leaders of the country which sent him to war. What would you do if your son, a broken teenager, just back from war, only wanted to vote, but you couldn't grant him that right? What if he deserved to vote? After all, hadn't he fought for our country? In 1971, the 26th Amendment was passed. It said that any citizen that was 18 years old or older could vote. The voting age had been 21, but people began to question that when, for example, if teenagers were fighting in the Vietnam War, had to be only 18 to join the armed forces, couldn't even vote for the leaders of the country that they were defending. Many people disagreed with the voting age, and when Amendment 26 was drawn up, it passed in only 4 months. In Future Shock, Alvin Toffler says, "Change isn't merely necessary to life, it is life." The framers knew that the Constitution had to be able to adapt as situations changed, and I think the thing that makes the Constitution so beautiful is its flexibility and its ability to change as conditions change. Amendments 15, 19, and 26 demonstrate the ability of the Constitution to adapt and change by showing that as circumstances change, the Constitution changes. All 3 of these amendments have to do with voting guidelines and making it fairer for everyone. When the Constitution was drawn up, the first amendments there was 1 through 10, also known as the Bill of Rights. The next amendment, the 11th, wasn't passed until 1795. The Constitution was loosely written, and it didn't specify who was eligible to vote, so it was up to the states, but the states and the people who had the authority didn't allow African Americans or women to vote. Though not letting African Americans and women vote goes against the ideas presented in the preamble of the Constitution. According to the preamble, there were 5 purposes of the government: to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for the common defense, to promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty. To establish justice is to make sure everyone is treated equally, but telling white men they could vote, but black people and women can't, isn't treating people with equality. To ensure the blessings of liberty is to guarantee the basic rights of all Americans, but by telling white men they could vote, but black people and women cannot, is taking away some of their basic rights. According to the Constitutional Rights Foundation, the most basic right of a citizen in a democracy is the right to vote. Without this right, people can easily be ignored and even be abused by their government. People fought for our freedom and our rights, but if black people and women can't vote and those rights are being taken away from them, it's like they died in vain. All 3 of these cases show that as the world was evolving, the Constitution was updating as well. All of them show that the Constitution is able to adapt and change, not necessarily fast or easily, but it does. After 5 amendments and 100 years of hard work to demolish voting discrimination, African Americans, women, and people over the age of 18 could legally vote. I think that Alvin Toffler would be proud of what we have become, along with Jacob Andrews, Alice Paul, and Tyler King. I think that they would have accepted the Constitution as it is today and have been honored to live in the United States.
Isn't that terrific? This is the 4th full year that we've done this Constitution essay contest, and it's a fantastic essay this young lady's written. Bailey, I'd like to present you with this small computer. It's called a transformer, and I think you're going to love it because it can also be used as a I'll let you do it.
Okay.
This comes with
Okay. Do you want me to do it now?
It's yours, you can do whatever you want with it. I'd also like to ask, where are they? Your teachers to come up, so I have a little gift for them too. Are they here? There you are, sir. It's a gift card from Staples.
Thank you.
Your assistant? And you're the English teacher, right? And you're the
She is.
civics
I'm
teacher.
right.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
One other thing I'd like to say is the constitutions are provided by our congressman. This is the 5th year that they've supplied 5,000 constitutions, pocket constitutions, so this could go on, and we see it continuing into the future. This program is sponsored by Cape 912, the Foundation for Lee County Public Schools, and Lee County Public Schools themselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No. Giving them to the kids.
We'd like to thank George Miller, Marshall Bauer, and Beverly Burke from the Foundation for their support in the teaching of the Constitution, as well as the teachers and principals for supporting this important project. Bailey, that essay was incredible, and I think it should be published. And of course, we want to recognize all the students for participating in the Constitution Essay Contest. So at this time, let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to have Mr. Stephen Latour and the principal from Calusa Middle School, Dr. Ann Cole, come join me at the lectern. The Lee County Educational Support Person of the Year program provides an opportunity to recognize members of the district support staff who contribute to their school or department and builds positive relationships with those he or she encounters daily. Each year, the district chooses one individual whose dedication and attitude exceeds the most. The recipient of this year's award is Mr. Steve Latour, a retired Lee County Sheriff's Officer who came back to our district and is now the security specialist at Calusa Middle School. Mr. Latour has been at Calusa Middle for 3 years. He now joins an elite group of people, the school district best of the best support personnel. Steve here. Well, Mr. Latour goes up above and beyond to ensure that students get what they need. He teaches them to learn self-control, leadership, respect, of self and others, and teaches them skills and habits that will help them increase their achievement and success in life. He goes out of his way to work with parents, teachers, and the community to help students eliminate barriers to learning. He works to inspire a passion for learning and leadership, and he's also developed a curriculum to use with students. Mr. Latour started the Young Gentlemen's Club at Colusa Middle School. He volunteers his time after school every Tuesday. He invites community members to speak to them about careers, leadership opportunities, community service, education, positive choices that will enhance their lives. He received a grant to purchase a button-down blue t-shirt for each of the students. And on meeting days, these men dress all day with their shirts and tie. They have developed a sense of pride, and many of them have increased achievement, raised their grades, increased leadership skills, and decreased their referrals. Additionally, it actually serves as a norm for the school that their positive attitudes and what they teach learn about respect, about attitude, and about how to treat others translates to other students. And Mr. Latour has raised the level of our students through that group. So I would like we'd like to just give a round of applause to Mr. Steve Latour. Board members, next Tuesday I'll go visit him at his day and I will give it to him personally.
I would like the following individuals from Cape Coral High School to please join me. Principal Scott Cook, student Anand Kwan, and from Fort Myers High School, Principal David LaRosa, students Nozomi Watanabe and Leah Rittenberg. The Sunshine State Scholars Recognition Program for high school students was begun in 1997 to recognize excellence in mathematics and science. It has since evolved into a program designed to recognize Florida's top high school science, technology, engineering, and math, are better known as STEM students, and recruit them to pursue post-secondary education in Florida. Throughout September and October each year, every school district selects their top STEM 11th grade students based on an established criteria. Recently, the Lee County School District was pleased to announce that Cape Coral High School student Anand Kwan and Fort Myers High School student Nozomi Watanabe are this year's Lee County Sunshine State Scholars. Lee Rittenberg of Fort Myers High School was named this year's alternate. The school board and the superintendent are pleased to announce that Anand and Nozomi as this year's Lee County Sunshine State Scholars and Leah as this year's alternate. We are proud of their accomplishments of these students and wish them the very best in their future endeavors. And I'm going to ask Anand, congratulations, if you would like to say something. No? Okay. Would you like your friends to say it on your back? Sure. Or would you like to? It's up to you. What would you like me to say? Whatever you'd like to say. Tell us about how you got here.
Okay. Hi. My name is Ann Kwan, and I'm involved in a lot of things, and I'm really honored to receive this recognition. I'm involved in math team at my school. I am vice president of that, and I just recently this weekend went to competed in Science Olympiad and our school placed second. Also, I'm involved in Model UN, which is a debate team, and also I'm involved in NHS, an honor society, and Rho Kappa, another honor society, and this weekend I'm going to be competing in math team, so I'm really proud to see this.
Now I'd like to ask Nozomi, come forward. And neither one of these students had any idea that they were going to be asked to speak. So talk about putting them on the spot. Go ahead.
Let's see.
Tell us about yourself and how you got here.
To be completely honest, I have no clue why I'm here. Because all I did was go to school, take classes, and do good on them, really. So, but the thing is, I haven't been too much involved in things like math team. I've just recently started doing stuff like that because I was doing wrestling, except due to like a couple issues that arose, I stopped. But then I got an interest in things like computer programming, and am currently teaching myself how to learn. And for anyone that knows programming languages like C and Python, and I think it's really interesting, and I do seek to pursue a career in that. And that, yeah.
What you're involved in.
I'm pretty much in the same boat. I am completely shocked. We tested with 15 people from our school, and all 15 were completely brilliant. They are absolutely incredible. We have incredible math and science teachers, and they train the students so well, so I can't really believe that I beat any of them because they're amazing. They're going to do amazing things. Nozomi will. He deserved this completely, so I don't know what he's talking about. But I'm actually kind of an artsy person, so I'm a little surprised to be here, but I'm also interested in biology, so I guess that kind of tugged the boat. So good job, guys. You did awesome.
Now, these students had no idea that they were going to be asked to do that. Now tell me that we don't have some great kids in our system.
I would like to invite Mr. Marshall Bauer, President of the Foundation for Lake County Public Schools. Also with the foundation, Ms. Alicia Miller, Director of Scholarships, and Ms. Nicole McGinnis, Mentor Coordinator. And I would like Mr. Frank Mitchell and Ms. Christina McDaniel to please join us at the lectern. Take Stock in Children is a locally implemented scholarship program in the state of Florida that targets low-income, at-risk students in the Lee County Public Schools. Every day, our local community members are volunteering their time to provide a consistent, supportive, and guiding hand to our young people. The guidance of an adult mentor can help each child discover and unlock his or her potential. Community members give generously of themselves and demonstrate their strong commitment to quality education in the school district of Lee County. One promise of the program is to match students with a caring adult mentor. Frank Mitchell and Christina McDaniel dedicate their time to enhancing and enriching the education of Take Stock in Children scholars. It's a tongue twister. Enabling them to reach high school graduation and begin college. Each demonstrates the effectiveness a mentor can have in the life of a student, and we are proud to honor them for their service to our community. In collaboration with the Foundation for Lee County Public Schools, the school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize Frank Mitchell and Christina McDaniel for their dedication and commitment to the students of Lee County.
Sure, thank you. Just very quickly, I'd like to express my appreciation to Marshall and Alicia and Nicole for all their support. when I joined the Take Stock program last year, really it was, and every mentor I think would say this, with just the intent to make a difference in just one student's life. And I've been very blessed to have 2 young men that are actually under me, and we meet twice a month, and we talk about everything, but we really try to focus on their academics. And it's really been a pleasure to see the growth and the support that these students actually give to me and provide actually the drive that I get from them. It's a mutual support. So thank you again for the award. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you so much for this award. I really appreciate it. I have to say that for anybody that's ever considered mentoring, you should definitely get involved. I would like to echo what was said in that I got involved to just make a difference in a life. I also work for the school district, and I wanted to get connected with the students that I serve, but it has turned into so much more than I could have imagined, and that Brianna is an inspiration for me and a true joy in my life. So thank you.
Before we take a brief recess, I want to introduce the newest person sitting at the dais, and that is our student representative, Tommy Short. Tommy Short is back with us, serving as our student representative for this evening's board meeting. He is a senior theater major at Cypress Lake High School Center for the Arts and is honored to be a part of the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council, and we're honored to have him. Tommy holds many positions at Cypress Lake High School, including SGA President, International Thespian Society Secretary, National Honor Society Historian, as well as being a member of the National Honor Society and the Soledad Honoria Hispanica. He holds a 4.19 GPA and stands in the top 10% of his class. Tommy is also the son of Dr. Jimmy Short, our Assistant Director of IT Support. Welcome, Tommy, and I'm going to ask him to take this opportunity to read our character word for the month.
All right. The character word for January is commitment. Binding yourself to a course of action despite obstacles. Make yourself a promise and keep it. The difference between the impossible and the possible lies in a man's determination. Tommy Lacerada.
Very good, thank you. And at this time, we'll take a brief recess so that those who wish to leave may do so. On the agenda is public comment. Mr. Martin, please address the agenda item of public comment.
Please listen carefully as the rules have changed. School board policy provides the opportunity to address the school board concerning items on the agenda or other subjects relevant to the operation of the school district. The opportunity to address the school board concerning items on the agenda occurs at the beginning of the meeting at this time. The opportunity to address issues not on the agenda for this meeting occurs later in the meeting, just before board member comment. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you'll be called in the order of the card submitted, with speakers commenting on agenda items called at this time, and those commenting on non-agenda items called at the later opportunity. If you have not submitted a card but still wish to address the school board this evening, the school board chair, Ms. Morgan, will give you an opportunity in a moment to indicate that desire. When doing so, please indicate whether you wish to address an item on the agenda or some other subject. You may speak at both opportunities, but must limit your comments to a subject for which that public comment opportunity is provided. If you comment on an issue not on the agenda during the agenda public comment opportunity, you will be required to hold your comments until the non-agenda public comment opportunity. The board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. Comments concerning items on the agenda may be addressed by the board in their discussion on that agenda item before taking action. Comments concerning subjects not on the agenda may be addressed during board member comment immediately following non-agenda comment. Speakers are required to confine their remarks to educationally relevant issues. Attacks on individuals and abusive comments will not be tolerated. If speakers persist in violating such rules after receiving a warning from the chair, they may be removed from the meeting. Ms. Morgan, I have 6 cards as to agenda items and 14 as to non-agenda items this evening. 20 total.
Is there anybody on the right side of the auditorium who did not fill out a blue card that wishes to speak on agenda items? On agenda. Okay, and your name is? I can't hear you.
Ali
Lopez. Is there anybody on the left side of the auditorium who wishes to yes, agenda item? Ms. Lori Fahey. Is there anyone on the right side who wishes to address a non-agenda item? Anybody on the left side who wishes to, would you please stand and give your name?
Lori Fahey,
Fahey.
Chris Quackenbush, George Fox, and I think there was one more back in the very back.
Did you?
Back in the very back, did someone back there have their hand up? No,
Coral,
they
you
changed
had-
their mind.
I think Coral Bowden had her hand up.
Coral Bowden. Mr. Martin, would you please call the first card?
Yes, ma'am. That makes 27 speakers,
that's
so the
right.
time allowed per speaker will be 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
The first speaker as to an agenda item this evening is Nestor Avila, who will be discussing the resolution with respect to National School Counseling Week.
Thank you. The Association would like to thank members of the board and Dr. Graham for the resolution in this week's agenda to recognize and celebrate school counselors and National School Counseling Week. Lee County school counselors and our district leadership are trailblazers in our profession. We are focusing our efforts to build comprehensive school counseling programs to help meet the academic, career, personal, and social needs of our students that we serve. As president of the Lee County School Counselor Association, I have to thank our board and our superintendent for your efforts and commitment to our profession as school counselors.
Next speaker is Mr. Lee Cummins, who will also be addressing National School Counselors Week.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, members of the school board, Dr. Graham. I heard your comments about not getting a response. I was going to do a participatory activity here because this is an educational setting, and one of the best learning tools is learn by doing, but never mind. Probably better.
Sing.
I really appreciate also your support, your encouragement. As those kids sang, that lifted the spirits of everyone here. And I want to say that's what we believe you do for us. Each one of you. You lift our spirits because you support us, and I want to thank you for that. Now, I imagined how you might express that, and so in my imagination, I thought, what if you just wrote a verse of a song? And it would go like this. This is the tune of Bye Bye Birdie, so you might be familiar with it, those of us that are, a bit older. We love our school counselors, oh yes we do. We love our counselors, and we'll be true. Without our counselors, what would we do? Oh, school counselors, we love you. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Bob Valenta, who will be addressing the agenda item. Mr. Bob Valenta, addressing the agenda items of designation of Dunbar High School as an International Baccalaureate School, personnel appointments, and the appointment of a representative of the Keep Florida Learning Committee. Mr. Valenta.
Thank you. I guess I think it's great that Dunbar High School is going to be a certified IB school. My daughter's in IB. It's a terrible program. Look into it further, okay? It has a lot of problems with what it's teaching and what its goal is. It's aligned with the UN and their Agenda 21. It's a mess. So look into it before you just hop on and say, woo-ha. I also wanted to talk about the superintendent's recommendation to make an effort to be represented on the newly established Keep Florida Learning Committee. I strongly urge this board to not make this effort, as it lends credence to the State Department of Education, which has circumvented local control at every turn. Please don't encourage them. We should be doing everything in our power to dissuade the State Department of Education. A state department does not trump a locally elected board. I think you said I'm supposed to speak on this at yet a third time?
Yes, sir, you provided a
For
third
the
subject,
public hearing?
which was personnel appointments.
Oh, yeah, right. Personnel appointments. I wanted to congratulate the personnel appointments that you guys are going to do tonight, especially George Fox for the Financial Committee. And I just wanted to remind the board and Mr. Fox that that it takes teachers and lessons to teach and not money. And I know that I've heard him speak before about how we need to raise taxes. That's not what's going to teach our kids.
Thank you, Mr. Valenta. Time's up, sir. Next speaker is Mr. Kevin Regal, who will be addressing the agenda item of personnel appointments.
Good evening. I would like to address the agenda item concerning staff renewals, hiring, and yes, or policies and reasons for termination. I have watched this district conduct its business. I have some grave concerns in these matters. I have observed a great many minorities terminated within the district recently, and I have read through media outlets about the reasons given, which have varied from lying on a human resource form, forging supervisor signatures, lying about sick days, and other various reasons. All the time I have witnessed a few privileged staff receive numerous chances over and over again. This is just not fair on an equitable basis whatsoever. I've already given you information about the personnel file.
Mr. Regal, please stop your comments. I've stopped your time. Mr. Regal, I'm going to explain that to you if you give me just a moment. The agenda item that you are here to address is with respect to personnel recommendations to appoint particular individuals as employees of the school district. It is not a recommendation with respect to establishing any particular conduct standards for employees. Do you have any comments with respect to the employees recommended for personal action on this agenda item?
I will wait until.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Michael Drycorn, who will be addressing the recommendation to make an appointment to the Keep Florida Learning Committee.
Good evening, all. First off, I promise not to sing. That would be, yeah, I don't. Bye Bye Birdie is a good tune, though. You know, for the last 5 months, Lee County has really provided a stimulus for conversation, not only in the state, but across the nation with regards to the high-stakes testing, Common Core, and various issues. And one of the agenda items that are on for this evening that the superintendent is proposing is to support nominations to the Keep Florida Learning Committee. Now, Bob and I didn't have a conversation about this, and Bob and I are usually spot on with everything, but on this one here, I got to say, if we're not represented, we don't have a voice. And I'm willing to support the superintendent's motion on this, and I hope all of the school board's representatives as well do, because if we aren't on this 11-member committee, there's only 11 people in the entire state that get to speak on further deregulation opportunities for the school system, review instructional material review processes used by the school boards, identify strategies to increase parental involvement, and review the implementation of Florida standards and the Florida Standards Assessment over the next year. If we don't have a voice, we're not going to be heard. So I put my name and filled my application out last night. I encourage more citizens to do the same. Thank you.
Those are all the cards on agenda items. Excuse me, there's one more. Ms. Chris Quackenbush, who will be addressing the agenda item 4C4 with respect to purchasing requisitions.
Because this is our first night on the new procedure, I didn't realize I had to put both on. The other one was the one that he just spoke on as well, so I'll just be really brief. On item 4C4, a consent action list, I don't see any identifying of the contractor or company nor purpose for the use of $232,573 voted on tonight. Without this information, I believe the public doesn't have enough information to be adequately noticed for a vote on this item, unless I'm incorrect with the rules. I think that disclosing the item's purpose and who it's going to be going for is an important item, and I do see it in all the other items, so I'm wondering why it's not there. Second thing is, I straddle the position between Michael Drycorn and Bob, because there are over 1,600 applications now in. This committee was formed to kick the can down the road, not to get anything accomplished. This is one more of their attempts to stop us from actual action. Now, we got a bill in last week in committee, and actually in bill drafting on both the Senate and the House side. And what we need to be doing is working with our legislators now to get that bill passed. So I'm excited that they have addressed our issue by saying, yes, there are some people concerned, but this committee that they're forming is ludicrous and a slap in the face of the public when there are over 1,600 applications already and only 11 spots for the entire state. It makes no sense at all. And by the way, those spots were not left open for just average Joe citizens or parents. Thank you.
Those are all the cards with respect to agenda item comment.
Okay, thank you. Holly Lopez.
I was wrong. Can you move me to the other section of the
And Lori Fahey.
May you please identify the agenda item you wish to address.
I actually don't have the number written down for it, but it was the budget changes.
Oh,
Sorry, I went through my notes quickly today.
The budget amendment?
Yes.
Very well.
That's one of them, and then also the schedule for next year, for the 2015-16.
The schedule, meaning start times for schools?
Yes.
Calendar, thank you, yes. Yes, ma'am. Proceed.
Noticed I was going through the notes quickly here at the meeting still, so I'm not as prepared as I usually am. But I did notice in different categories, over $30 million in computer software, hardware in the budget. And so I'm hoping that you're able to look at that a lot more into detail than I was before we put more money into computers. On the 2015-16 calendar, the start date, I believe, is August 25th, and last day of school is June 10th. I'm hoping that you've asked and looked into what it might cost us to ignore that mandate on starting school so late in the year. I think we use a lot more money with electricity and everything else. Thank you.
I believe that's it. Next is approval of action items in the agenda under consent. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Mrs. Fisher.
I have no polls.
Mrs. Dozier.
I have none.
Mr. Toiber.
Isn't it in the consent or under the old business? I don't see in the
Consent.
consent
Did
agenda,
I
right?
read the wrong?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yes.
I am so sorry.
Under the
Consent.
consent, I have
knew what you were
four,
talking
I have.
about.
I'm sorry.
Consent.
Yes, consent,
Revere,
yeah.
Revere, do you have any polls?
No, you go ahead and say what
Okay.
you wanted to say. And then.
I'm pulling 4D1 and 4E1.
Ms. La Riviere.
And I do have just a question that didn't pop out to me earlier, but on 4C4, there is no specificity in the brief agenda and that's what I need clarification on. So that's what I need clarification. I just want to be clear. That's all.
Okay. So we have 3 items to pull, 4D1, 4E1, and 4C4. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with the exception of the pulled items?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Dozier. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. I will take a moment and just mention that in the consent agenda, we approved the resolution for the month of February 2015 as Career and Technical Ed Month. We approved the resolution for February 2015 as Florida School Volunteer Month. We approved the resolution for the month of February 2015 as National Black History Month, and we approved the resolution of National School Counseling Week, February 2nd through 6th, 2015. Okay, to the polls. The first one is 4C4.
And I finally see where it is.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Dr. Graham to read it, and then we'll talk about it.
I recommend board approval of 2 purchase requisitions in the total amount of $232,573.80 and authorization for the issuance of 2 purchase orders as described.
Board members, is there a motion for the pulled item?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier. Second.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. La Riviere. Discussion. And I am going to point out that those items are, in fact, in the agenda documentation on page 29. It's on page 29 in our,
It starts starts
Online.
It starts on page 29, but it's actually what would be page 30, and then it gives the purchase, and that's why it didn't pop out at me just
So
now.
I'm just going to say, for point of information, it was, let's see, there was a purchase order amount for $227,574.80, requisitioned by the Information Systems Department. The vendor is Parlant Technology, and it's the annual service renewal for Parent Link. The second purchase requisition is for $4,999, requested by Fort Myers Institute of Technology. The vendor is Flame Internet, and the purchase description is TV and radio advertising for January 2015 classes.
And I'll just add, since we're talking about it, that the purchase for the advertising for FMIT, they attribute that they had an increased second semester enrollment of 15%, and they attribute much of that to the fact that they expanded their marketing and their advertisement using this company. And ParentLink, in addition to being a way to message parents, it's also become our emergency information system as well.
Mrs. Dozier.
But there was a good point that was brought up by Ms. Fahey. I believe, I know when I go back to look at an agenda, the backup material is there on the internet. Is it not on the internet ahead of time for the public to see?
It's there when we post the
Okay.
agenda.
That's what I thought. So you can get up you can get the backup material, but the actual backup material is not provided. Here, you just get the hard copy of the actual agenda itself. So for clarification, I wanted to say that.
Any other board discussion?
Just that sometimes we have to search real hard to find it.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Let's see, the second one is 4D1. Dr. Graham?
I recommend board approval of the general personnel recommendations, including administrative certificated support and of substitute staff and out-of-field appointments.
Is there a motion for the item?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Teuber.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Fisher. Discussion.
Yeah, I pulled this for two reasons. Number one, and I've already had this discussion with the superintendent about, we're trying to avoid disruptions in the district, and we're making 5 moves in the middle of the year, and I know it's for a TIF grant, the moves, but why the TIF grant somebody couldn't have done it till we, handle that until we move to the end. But the biggest concern that I had was, we have a school board policy 5.27, and 5.27 specifically says in paragraph 1, any transfer of an employee from his or her assigned school position or other work site to another school position or other work site shall be made only on the recommendation of the superintendent with approval of the school board. In other words, the superintendent recommends, we approve, they make the move. And this is something that was adopted in March of 2012, so 2 years ago. And those people got moved last Monday, or last Tuesday. And again, there's an argument to be made that this is a disruption in our school system. So much so that, I checked with Wayne Blanton up at FSBA, a disruption in our school services is good cause for us to deny this particular, these moves. I'm going to support this motion because Dr. Graham did approve it to us, but that doesn't negate the fact that we really can't at this point, if the discussion started to happen at this board table, and we chose that we weren't going to support it, now what do? You talk about disruption upon disruption. Now we got to put people back. So that's an issue that I think this board needs to just be aware of, and I think we need to just get a consensus for this board to direct the superintendent to follow the policies. I mean, they're there for a reason, and unless it's number 3 says in case of an emergency as being determined by the superintendent, and I don't think that she's going to say this is an emergency situation, but maybe. So I just think we just need to start looking at our policies, start following our rules and doing the things. I'm supportive of it because I'm glad we got the grant. I think the moves that superintendent's making are smart moves. They all make sense, and they all cause moving one person created a domino effect. So I understand, but I just think we just need to be a little more prudent in how we do what we do.
Thank you. Any other board member comment? Mrs. Dozier.
Well, and I know every one of us probably had a discussion with the superintendent around these, and one of my advisors that I hold very near and dear to my heart, I was going over the agenda with him, and I said something about all of these moves, and he said, now, I'm not an educator, he said, but isn't it disruptive to move principals? Do you have a good reason for this? So, I mean, we have to be very mindful of the fact that unless there's absolutely an emergency to do something, we really shouldn't be making moves in the middle of the year, unless there's some reason that we have to pull somebody out, like illness or something like that. I would just ask that in the future we be very mindful of the time of year.
Any other comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. And the last poll is, what is it?
E1. For E1.
E1.
4E1. Okay, is there a motion for the pulled item 4E1?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Teuber. Discussion.
I recommend
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you to read it, my bad.
I recommend board approval for authorization to complete the documentation process recognizing Dunbar High School as a certified international baccalaureate school with no fiscal impact to the district.
Thank you. Mr. Teuber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And board,
I think we
you know,
need a motion first.
No, we did. We did the motion before the recommendation. I
Okay.
said my bad, I apologize.
Okay.
you know, I want to give credit where credit is due. I think Dunbar is doing amazing things, and I think their program is really taking off. But they're our technology school, and they've got, you know, first they got the Microsoft, and then they lured in Adobe, which was phenomenal. Now they're actually, Aruba, which is the Wi-Fi guru of the world, has actually approached them, and it looks like that we might get the Aruba program, which would be a huge kudo for our district and for Dunbar. We put an IB program in there, and I don't know really why. Now we have, not only do we have one per zone, which was the idea that everything we did we were going to duplicate twice, so we'd have it in every zone. Now we have 4. And I asked Mr. Moore, and he was going to get me that information. I didn't get back to him, and I apologize, but I don't believe there's any district in the country that has 3, let alone 4 IB programs. And it's a really huge drain on our system and resources that we have to, because it's one of the premier programs. So I'd like this board to seriously consider about, you know, do we have the resources to really do 4 when, and actually divert from, well, first off, even if we support this, then I guess my overall reaching sincerity, because I don't really want to take something away from Dunbar unless we feel it's a resource issue, but the selection process on why we do what we do, I think there needs to be a policy or a procedure to understand going forward what's our vision. Because, you know, if the vision was that we were going to make Dunbar the best technology school, then why is there an IB program? And if we're going to have, you know, Lehigh and North and Estero be our Cambridge, then we don't want to start putting other programs in there. So I think we just need to have a method to our madness, and this one just seems like it just doesn't make any plausible sense. And I think at the cost, that's a very expensive system, you know, so I would approve that we maybe approve this, but we really want to seriously consider if we want to sustain it. And I think that's a discussion that we should have at certain time, and definitely in future, and how we're going to pick things going forward.
Mrs. Dozier.
And I certainly have been very supportive of the programs that we have put in Dunbar. And this is the question that I have. We constantly talk about our employees and how much they have on their plate. And are we going to be spreading this staff so thin with all of these extra programs that we have there? That is something that is a concern to me, because, you know, I didn't think about that until, you know, when I read this, I went, oh, great, they're going to have another program. But then all of a sudden with Mr. Mr. Toiber talking about this, all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, one of the things that we say we look out for giving teachers more to do. This is an example of one school that we actually are going to give them more to do because we're not going to have additional funding to put in that school for extra teaching units. So that means these teachers are going to have to be teaching all these different programs that are there. So that is, that is something that I think we really need to think about, and we really need to, we probably need, I'll support it tonight, but I think we're going to have to go back and revisit this. I'm not sure that's in the best interest of the district as a whole, and I'm not sure. I don't know what was said.
I don't know.
And I'm not sure that it's in the best interest of the programs that exist, because I think we're going to be kind of watering down some of the programs there in the schools. So, I'll support it under one condition, that we will go back and revisit what's happening with that school, because, I know that they are drawing in certain areas. They are drawing in areas of computers and technology, and I'm just not sure that they're going to be drawing in the area of IB. I'm just not sure that is going to be something that happens there. So if we can go back and revisit this program after a year.
I think we need to, when we've had this conversation at the district leadership level, there was a time when no program was added without a pretty strenuous process that went into place to determine the need.
Right.
And it started when we wanted to be sure every zone had replication of programs. In the interim, I mean, there are multiple schools calling themselves art schools, and and I've had this conversation with staff. Doesn't seem to be any clear process. I believe this is the only one that was far down the track by the time I got here, and we saw it through. But I'm in agreement that, and I will tell you that we also, and I've said this out loud, we need to be looking at the current IB programs and really study the data based on how many completers are there really, and are we doing justice to the programs that we have. So I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying at this point.
And on another point where it says that there is no fiscal impact to the district, I'm not
For
sure.
this particular recommendation to name them, obviously, there's going to be.
Name them, that
Yeah.
there's not,
No,
but
there's
I
gonna be-
think that's a little bit misleading, because in the future, there will definitely be a fiscal
And
impact. to the district.
ultimately, it will pay for itself or we'll be unable to do it. That's how we started with the others.
And I will just add that I know we were briefed on this, and at the time the decision was made, put forward, there was a rationale for doing it, but nobody knew how the technology part of Dunbar would explode in terms of demand, both from the student body and from people who wanted to come in. And so what's actually happening at Dunbar was not predicted at the time that the IB program, we were briefed on the IB program. So, and I do agree that having listened to people talk about the task force that's working on the South Zone and East Zone high schools, when they're looking at programs and the strengths of various programs relative to other schools, I think it is time to go back and really look at some of our, what do we call them? Not magnets.
Attractors.
Tractors. Some of our attractors, and really make certain that we've got the right programs in the right place.
You have
and
to
they're
be
delivering-
strategic.
Yeah,
in that,
right.
yeah.
So, Ms. Latoya, here, I am just really losing it.
You are perfectly fine. Just call me Mrs. L. Just a point of clarification, and this may have been briefed and so on before my time.
Right.
And so this is my point of clarification. When I look at this information, it appeared to me that this was something that the Dunbar School itself had wanted. So okay, that's what I wanted to. So it makes sense then that they put some thought into it as to how they were going to take care of the staffing piece. So I'm just thinking about some of the concerns you addressed, Ms. Dozier, and so possibly there's been hiring of staff and planning with that in mind. Okay. But yes, we do need to reconsider all of the pieces.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just have a question. Where are they actually in the process? This says to complete the documentation process. Where exactly are they, and what is their plan for staffing?
They've had their visit, and they've been approved that they've got everything they need to begin the program.
Of course, it's Dunbar. We could have told them that.
Any other comment?
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Teuber, is your hand up? or-
No, just to Ms. LaRiviere's point, I mean, the school only has so many DRAs, and I think that's what Mrs. Dozier was saying, is that these high-intensive programs just cause excessive resources. And again, I don't, last thing I love Dunbar, and that's one of the first schools I talk about when I go to the community, because it's a great success story. And if you haven't visited it lately, you really you need to go see it and see what the kids are doing. It's an amazing, amazing school. But we're heading in a direction that to be the technology center of the world, as far as I'm concerned. But as far, it's a great, our businesses are becoming involved and so on, and we've got that track going. At this point, our attractors, we need attractors in all 13 schools, and we only have so many resources to put attractors in all those schools. And now we've got actually 4 IB programs, and to me, I think that's just, that's not prudent for the district. So that was my whole thing, and I don't want to, and the only reason why I brought it now before the approval, I don't want them to spend resources, and then we go, just kidding. So, just out of respect for Mr. Burnside and his staff, they worked so hard. That was my only reason to bring it up today.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher.
And I appreciate that. What would happen if there was no authorization to complete the process? What would happen at that school? As far
If this
as...
board said there'd be no IB program, there wouldn't be one. I mean, they've got everything in place to be allowed to call themselves that they have an IB program and to begin to recruit kids to be there for IB. That's as far as it's gone.
Then I guess.
Is this partly because now that they're expanded, they have more seats?
Well, I do believe that Mr. Mora would tell you that every time we expand seats at other schools for IB, we are changing the complexion of that student population. And so an additional IB program does give an opportunity for more students to get an IB while still maintaining a diverse, and I'm not just talking ethnicity, I'm also talking academically, gives the opportunity to keep those other schools with the IB programs with a more balanced student body, I guess I would say.
Is there any concern at all that adding a program like IB would water down what they're doing technology-wise?
Absolutely
and
not.
hurt their standing in the nation?
No.
No.
Not at this point. I can tell you that the principal there would never have even entertained the thought, if he thought for 1 minute, would jeopardize the other programs. And I know he debated between IB and Ace Cambridge at one point.
Okay. All those in favor of the recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, superintendent's recommendations.
I recommend the School District of Lee County make an effort to be represented on the newly established Keep Florida Learning Committee, with the school board designating the applicant or applicants to forward for consideration by the Florida Department of Education.
Is there a motion to designate an individual or individuals to apply for this committee?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. LaRiviere, seconded by,
Ms. Morgan, this
We need a name.
recommendation requires
oh,
designation of an individual, a so move. The superintendent is not recommending an individual, so move, it doesn't
Madam Chair,
clarify the motion.
yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a motion that we have one of our board members, Mr. Stephen Teuber, as the legislative liaison, put in an application to serve on this committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, so, okay, discussion.
I get to talk first.
Okay.
I made the motion. Sorry about that, fella. The reason I made that motion and the reason I suggested that way back when this came to all of us was 2 reasons. Number one, I know that Mr. Toiber has been in on the discussions around all of the testing, and he knows the district, he knows what's been going on in the district. It seems to me like a glove fit, because he's the legislative liaison that's carrying our platform to Tallahassee. So he's not only going to be talking to our legislators, but he would also be talking to the Commissioner of Education, Pam Stewart. So that's my rationale for putting his name forward as a recommendation.
Mr. Toiber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the honor, but I think Mr. Drycorn said it, well, I think everybody that commented on this section all has valid points. But I think Mr. Drycorn carries the day in the sense that, we need to have representation from Lee County. This is where it started. This is the people that that put it on the map. And I think we have to have somebody on that board, because if you've heard the comments from the DOE, Pam Stewart has said to the legislature, let's wait for these guys. So that's going to set the tone. So we really need to have a voice. That said, I guarantee you there's going to be 3,000. I think Dr. Graham already has the number as far as how many thousands of people have already applied. That said, we don't know what they're looking for. And I believe that all 5 of the board members have something to offer. And I think the superintendent has something to offer. For that matter, I think everybody in this room has something to offer. And I think this board should make the vote that everybody that doesn't mind driving up to Tallahassee 6 times during this year, apply, because you don't know who's going to get picked. If you, just like a game show, you don't know which one it is. And if we're represented by anybody that's sitting up here at the dais, or anybody here in Lee County that's lived through this, that has a passion for this particular issue, I would recommend, because you don't know when they're looking for the fill categories. I think they're looking across the board, and I really think that we need to give us the best shot. So that's my position. But I would serve, if selected, I would apply. I would go.
And to piggyback on that, I had a conversation with Dr. Graham and noted that they were going to pick 11 people statewide, and that would include teachers, community members, everybody, a whole cross-section of the community. And at that time, I said, the more names we have in the hat, the more likely we are to get picked. So I'm going to piggyback on what Mr. Toiber said and encourage anyone who has an idea that they could lend something to the committee and bring a voice from Lee County to the table to apply.
Okay, I would like to withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
So, and would you like to withdraw your recommendation since everybody's going to apply?
Well, unless you want to revert to what Mr. Toiber said, because I think the community's already figured out they can apply.
Yeah.
This was about you all wanting, if you don't think you all need to have a motion so all of you apply, then I'm certainly happy to withdraw if you'd like me to do that. Okay, I'll withdraw the motion, the recommendation.
Gets to apply.
Great suggestion.
Only have until, I think, the 31st.
It's soon. And last count, I think it was 2,600 had applied.
It's a blessed Friday.
Okay, next
Okay.
recommendation.
Approval to renew bid number B137104GN for paving with Bateman Contracting LLP and Pavement Maintenance LLC for the final renewal period of February 5th, 2015 through February 4th, 2016 at the estimated annual expenditure of $1,250,000 pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mrs. Dozier, seconded
by one of us.
Ms. La Riviere. Discussion. Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Graham, would you please present your recommendation for this evening's public hearing items?
Sorry, I minimized how big the letters were. Okay. Approval of the revisions to Policy 2.30, Local School Wellness, is presented to promote the physical, mental, and intellectual wellness of district students and comply with requirements of federal law concerning adoption of a local wellness policy. The effective date of the revised policy is Wednesday, January 28th, 2015.
We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearing.
There's
As
a second
That's
recommendation.
right, sorry. Thank you, there was a second. Yep.
Approval of the revisions to Policy 4.35 Head Start eligibility, recruitment, selection, and enrollment as presented to establish new eligibility criteria for the Head Start program. The effective date of the revised policy is Wednesday, January 28th, 2015.
Okay. We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearing. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider approval of the revisions to Policy 2.30, Local School Wellness, and approval of the revisions to Policy 4.35, Head Start eligibility, recruitment, selection, and enrollment. At this time, the public will be invited to speak on these two items. The time allowed for comment is 3 minutes. Is there anyone on the right side of the auditorium who wishes to address these recommendations? Anyone on the left side who wishes to address the recommendations? Mr. Valenta. Anybody else? Mr. Valenta, please come forward.
I'm all for wellness, but I want your definition of physical, mental, and intellectual wellness. And I demand to know why we are giving credence to an illegal federal law requirement. Federal government has no business being in education or any other local issues. Thank you.
I will now close this public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of January 27th, 2015. Dr. Graham, please restate your recommendations for this evening's public hearing items.
I recommend board approval of the revisions to Policy 2.30, Local School Wellness, as presented to promote the physical, mental, and intellectual wellness of the district students and comply with requirements of federal law concerning adoption of a local wellness policy. The effective date of the revised policy is Wednesday, January 28th, 2015.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded
I'll second.
by Ms. LaRiviere. Discussion. Ms. Fisher.
Well, I know that this policy revision occurred as a compliance issue. However, I'm happy that it is happening, and we should have done this ourselves long ago. And I know that the School Health Advisory Committee members who have been working on advocating for this for about 4 years, and local health community people who work with our kids in other venues are going to find this beneficial. So I'm going to support this evening.
Any other comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did you say aye?
No.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. You're opposing?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carries 4-1. Dr. Graham?
I recommend board approval of the revisions to Policy 4.35 Head Start eligibility, recruitment, selection, and enrollment as presented to establish new eligibility criteria for the Head Start program. The effective date of the revised policy is Wednesday, January 28th, 2015.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Teuber. Seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. The next item on the agenda is non-agenda public comment. Mr. Martin, would you please address the agenda item of non-agenda public comment?
I forgot to introduce the personnel people.
You
'cause
did.
I got sidetracked by the polls, so
Yep.
could I do that very quickly?
Please.
Okay. I want to congratulate Tommy Bowens, who has become the interim principal for James Stevens International Academy. Welcome, Tommy. And David Sannon, who has been at Tortuga Preserve as a professional development resource teacher, is now the assistant principal at Franklin Park.
Mr. Martin.
The rules that I read before apply. The time allowed per speaker is 2 minutes. The first speaker this evening is Mr. Marvin Getz.
members of the board, Superintendent Graham. Recently, as I am now sure you are all aware, the Lee County Association of Substitute Teachers has been evicted from this building, where we have maintained an office for the last 2 years. Excuse me, I thought I had it off. Where we have maintained an office for the last 2 years. Prior to the Christmas vacation this year, in December, I was asked to attend a meeting with Dr. Atkins and Dr. Pruitt. I did so attend, and at the meeting I was informed that the substitute teachers were no longer welcomed in the district office and would have to vacate by June the 1st. I would remind the board, the superintendent, that since the Lee County Association is not a union and we have no contract such as the teachers in Telk and the paraprofessionals all do, we depend on you, the board members, we depend on the superintendent to look out for the substitute teachers of the district. We can only ask you for things or do things. The substitute teachers of the district, what we're asking you for is equality, parity, fairness, and justice. Recently, this is not really occurring within our district. Substitute teachers are being disrespected in many ways in different formats currently in the district. Over the years, from 1995 to the present time, this association has done everything it could to improve the quality, dependability, and the professionalism of the substitute teachers of the county. Today, we feel like we are treated like second-class citizens, no benefits, no rights, and most of all, no due process. We are not citizens of the district.
Next speaker is Ms. Irene McCoy, excuse me.
Good evening. My concern is with the elimination of the tutoring program for our children. I am a grandparent, I'm a former preschool teacher, and my grandson is presently in the tutoring program. If we eliminate the tutoring program, there is no way that we can help our children. We need those tutoring programs for the children, not summer school. If our children, the first teachers, first of all, are the parents in the home. And working with the school board myself as a bus driver, a teacher myself, and being a grandparent, and also having a child that attended school in the school system, and a deceased sister who also worked for the district. We need to keep the tutoring program because our children will slip through the cracks, especially the ones who are homeless. We have no one to speak for them, for the ones who some of the parents just not concerned, but to the ones in our community who are concerned about our children. We need to keep the tutoring program. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Claudia Lopez Gonzalez.
Buenas noches. Gracias por el privilegio de estar aquí, por permitirnos a nosotros los padres de dar nuestra opinión.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here and give our opinion.
Estoy agradecida por las tutorías que le brindan a nuestros niños. A mi niña se la ofrecieron en la escuela.
I'm very grateful for the tutoring that was offered to my daughter at her school.
Veo una mejoría en la niña, en la lectura, y entiende lo que está leyendo.
I see an improvement in my daughter's reading and in her understanding also.
Quisiera una solución para las tutorías ya que están terminando. Quisiera que continuaran porque ayudan al desarrollo de los niños.
The tutoring is about to end, and I would like a solution for this because I believe they help the children's development. And
A mí no me importa caminar 15 minutos para ir a recoger a mi niña, porque vale la pena de que mi niña tenga un mejor desempeño en la escuela.
I don't mind walking this 15 minutes for an extra amount of time during the year to continue having this valuable service for my daughter, to pick her up for something that really does make a change for her future in school.
Yo quisiera que dieran los cursos más y que se alargaran por más tiempo.
I would really like to see these resources be given so that the tutoring would be extended.
Bueno, gracias.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Ms. Tess Brennan.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Graham, Mr. Martin. Thank you for giving us all the opportunity to speak tonight. Just a few things that I wanted to bring up. I did want to let you know that I do support building a high school in Bonita Springs in the lovely field that we purchased from the farmer. That would be an excellent place for a school. It's very far south. Right now, they're all having to travel long distances. It would be an excellent opportunity to show the people of Bonita Springs that they are a part of our county and that they're valuable to us. I am writing to our legislators at least weekly, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. I'm sure you expect no less because I bug you all the time. I wanted to say that I'm excited about San Carlos Park Elementary and their Leader in Me Leadership Day tomorrow. And we have our Lighthouse evaluation coming up in February. And we have been busting our tushes all day, making sure everything's ready for that big event tomorrow. And we look forward to seeing you there. And while extending invitations, I wanted to invite each of you to the Let's Talk Testing event this Thursday, January 29th at 5:30 p.m. It will be at the Elks Lodge in Bonita Springs. That's there on Coconut Road. And Kathleen Jasper and Bob Schaefer will be our speakers with Drew Steele as our Master of Ceremonies. We understand that Ms. Stewart made some comments yesterday, and the comments that she made are the same comments she's been making, that our children are not allowed to opt out. And we know that that's not an option in the current way the things are written. That does not mean that our students cannot refuse and receive the NR2 that is also written in that legislation. And I've provided you with that information. If you need it, let me know, and I'll be sure and get it to you. But I did want to thank you tonight for your service. I'm excited about a wellness program, not so much about a 15-minute lunch, but thank you.
At least.
Next speaker is Mr. Joseph Battle.
I'm another board members, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm here as an advocate for private tutoring through vendors such as the one I work for, which is Basic Learning Skills. I've been working with them for over a year now, and some of the positives of having private in-home tutoring is that it provides a comfortable environment for kids to enhance their learning ability. It's also a comfortable environment for the parents who are a lot of times in attendance. There are so many positives that I could talk about, but among a couple of them is, oftentimes when I go in to tutor a kid, I end up tutoring all of his siblings also. Because of the barriers in language for most of our kids are Hispanic-speaking kids whose parents don't speak English or can't read English. A lot of times they're sitting along in attendance as I tutor their kid, and they're learning how to speak, pronounce English language, okay? So the private tutoring is just not only for that individual kid, it has type of a ripple effect. It's also for the parents, and it's also for the other siblings who are there. okay? So I'm here as an advocate for, and asking you to revisit your decision to discontinue this type of tutoring. Most of our kids are of low income. Without private in-home tutoring, a lot of them will be left to the side. The school board does a great job at educating our kids, but you can't educate every last one of them. Okay, there are some that's going to fall through the cracks. Companies like ours can help assist you in your goal that you stated at the beginning of the meeting to make the Lee County School Board one of the best in the nation and all of that.
Thank you, Mr. Battle. Your time's up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Melissa Giovanelli.
Board for letting me speak. I am a taxpayer and a member of the community who has been following closely the actions of the school district and the school board, or maybe non-action I would say is more accurate. I am deeply troubled and concerned by the actions that I have continued to witness take place recently here in these meetings. At the last meeting, Mr. Eagle was interrupted again while he was speaking, which I will again remind you that it only makes the board and the person interrupting look bad. Apparently, Ms. Morgan does not watch the meetings to see how damaging it looks. With this type of action, we only view the board as a board who supports the cover-ups and this type of actions. We see the innocent kids being put in harm's way, teachers afraid to say or do anything as they are in fear of retaliation, as Mr. Regal has experienced when he followed his oath and did his job. From what I'm witnessing from your statements and actions, and from seeing this proof, someone is not being truthful to the public or to the taxpayers. This is deeply disturbing. I have seen the proof that Mr. Regal has, and this is disturbing. So disturbing, I had to speak up, especially after I see how Mrs. Morgan conducts business. If you do not like your job, Mrs. Morgan, there are lots of others that I know that would like it and take it seriously enough to be respectful to those who are only trying to do good for the students of this district. All I want for our students is to not put them in harm's way. I want our students to get the education that they are legally entitled to, and I want fairness in the workplace. We all want our district to move forward and get back to an A district and to achieve greatness. We cannot do this with some of the individuals in power. It is time to clean up this mess, and the board is going to have to be the one to do it. Please, I am begging you as a taxpayer to look into these things personally. Don't make the mistake and take others' words that they are only covering up to save others, as they have been put in this power that is abusing it. I hope that we have the same goal in mind, and to better the district and to ensure that our kids are to succeed. We are here to help, and I remember that, and I want others to remember that too. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Mr. Kevin Regal.
At the last board meeting on January 13th, board member Pam LaRiviere stated, "I believe that Dr. Graham addressed where the confusion was with the application and arrest piece. I can tell you that the executive director was not arrested. There was a mix-up." Ms. LaRiviere, your statements are undeniably false. You stated that no executive director was ever arrested, keyword ever. Well, this morning I sent all of you 9 emails, 8 with attached proof, and in email 2 of 9, I sent you the actual arrest affidavit with 2 arrests for Spiro and the case docket arrest for Adkins. I even included the driver's license taken at the time of the arrest. Pam LaRiviere, please discuss this and the fact that you provided us with false information. Where did you receive this from, and why was I lied to? Superintendent Graham, please do not drag Dr. Pruitt into these matters, but respond to them, since I have been asking you to do so for months and months now, with no response to you ever. While a great many minorities are being terminated by the district, a teacher at Lehigh Senior High, whose father worked for you at Cypress Lake, kept his job despite putting athletes at risk, driving on a revoked license. I have sent you additional proof, but you have never asked nor discussed this matter. The minorities of which you have proved termination over the last year did not have a father who worked for you. They were not lucky enough to have others in high places look the other way and tell others not to speak. They were not the privileged few who continued to receive multiple chances. Superintendent Graham, you opened the district to legal litigation with your appointments and with your termination practices. You continue to be very, very unfair to others, especially minorities. Why is John Solak still employed? Superintendent Graham, please address these issues with transparency, including your reasoning for never discussing my third case, the 100-plus students at Lehigh Senior High who had their education compromised and who still suffer as a result of these actions over the past 2 years. I will continue to advocate on their behalf and for students and athletes who were unjustly affected until it was 100% satisfactorily resolved. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Bob Valenta.
We're now an hour and 45 minutes into this meeting, with the first 45 minutes being a presentation of attaboys. Is this really a good use of time when we never seem to have time to let the public and the people speak to this board? Mrs. Dozier, you said that we have some awesome students in Lee County. I would hope so. At $15,000 a head per year, I would certainly hope we have the best in the world. Yes, we do have some awesome students, in spite of, not because of Common Core. It's because of the teachers. I'm concerned also about a board, many board members, and even Nancy Graham, raising issues about her motion and then saying, but I'm going to go ahead and vote for it anyway. Very concerned about that, as is much of the audience who sat here and watched this. And today is not the first time. This has happened many times. You guys talk about how bad something is, but I guess I'll support it. It makes no sense. You need to answer to that. Thank you.
Next speaker is Paulo Lacayo.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Gracias por la oportunidad de estar aquí.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me be here tonight.
Estoy acá para expresar y agradecer la experiencia que tuve con la tutoría que
Amén.
prestaban en casa.
I'm here thankful for the opportunity that I have been offered to receive tutoring at my house.
Soy mamá de 2 niñas y una de ellas recibió tutoría en casa.
I'm a mom of 2 daughters, and one of them received this tutoring at home.
Su progreso fue positivo en reading.
Her progress was very positive in the reading area.
Ahora ella ya va para high school y quisiera que este sistema lo extendieran para todos los niños que lo necesiten.
She is going now to high school, and I hope this system will continue for all of those other kids that may not get it.
Ahora, precisamente en este momento, con la niña más pequeña, que está en primer grado, tengo un problema que ella necesita tutoría y el colegio no tiene ese
Right now, I'm
programa.
facing the issue that my other daughter, who is in the 1st grade, is not going to be able to possibly get this service. Her school does not offer it, and I really have no way of knowing what to do at this point.
Ajá. Quisiera que tomaran en cuenta pues el punto que yo tengo de preocupación.
I hope you take this into account and see that many mothers may feel like I feel.
Ya, gracias.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Ms. Marilyn Lacayo. All right. Giselle Lacayo? Also the same? Very well, thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Anthony Thomas.
Good evening, honorable school board members. Good to see you all. I want to talk about an issue I talked about at the last meeting. I'm going to keep talking about it till I see some change and some results. Diversity. Talked about, met with Nancy. First of all, I want to congratulate you for your 2 fine appointments tonight, 2 African-American men. But I also want to say that you're basically even Steven. You've dismissed 2 African-American principals, and you've appointed 2. So we haven't seen any real progress. We need to see some more appointments. Now, I want to talk about this maintenance department again. I understand you guys were at the maintenance department today with your workshop hearings, and that nobody really walked around and talked to the people. I've been talking to some of these folk. I've talked to the NAACP president. I thought he was going to be here tonight to address this issue with maintenance. You have a real problem in your maintenance department, and I'm here to tell you that if you guys don't address it, we got some folk with the ACLU and others who will get these folk organized and file some EEOC complaints and some lawsuits. I don't think people want to sue the government, but I do think that, as we saw in the movie Selma, you have to sue the government sometime to get what you need action on. And I would earnestly beseech this board to direct their superintendent to go out there to the transportation and talk to these folk. I can tell you the morale is very low. The people are being supervised, by folk that don't even have certain certificates. I can remember some time ago, you had a situation where you had a person who handled your security for the school district. He didn't have a degree. Some of the board members raised holy heck about it. You guys have demoted that person, worked for the sheriff department. He worked duly for the sheriff department in the school district.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Your time's up, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Susan Lehman.
I just wanted to let you know that I am a 40-year veteran classroom teacher, all in public education, 30 years in Atlanta and the last 10 years here in Florida. I have an ed specialist degree with 5 certifications, and it has really been my joy to be involved this year in the after-school tutoring program, which is what I would like to discuss with you tonight. I've not only been involved, but I've been very impressed by the excellent gains that I've already seen from the students in this program, with whom I also am working. I brought a few examples and some samples of some of the results that have already been made that I've from their assessments thus far this year. The children are responding to their teachers and their tutors in a very favorable way. Many of the tutors have good rapport with the parents and are in continuous communication with their parents. And we know that the parents are very much enjoying and are very grateful to having this program. The tutors, such as myself, have now, after 3.5, almost 4 months, gotten to know the students' strengths as well as their weaknesses. And at this time, it would be such a good thing if we could continue this program so that we could continue to identify and work on their weaknesses as we go forward toward the season of assessments and testing. I know that you are considering adding summer school to your program, and that's obviously a very good addition. But I want us to not forget the power of small group instruction. So I went on to Google today and I put in the benefits of small group instruction, and there are 1,690,000 articles on the benefits of small group instruction, which is what we provide in the after-school tutoring. So I thought it was interesting that the word that was used for character this month was commitment, and I would really like you to reconsider
Thank you, Ms.
and
Lehman.
think
Your time
about
is
the
up, ma'am.
commitment. Thank you.
Ms. Morgan, those are all the cards I have on non-agenda comment.
Mary Orthodoxu, please.
Good evening. I'm shocked. I sat here tonight, I heard 4 people say they didn't like something on Nancy Graham's recommendation, and then you voted for it. So you're pissing away the taxpayers' money on something you don't agree with. You know it's no good, but you're going to take it from these students that need the extra help. Because you are all going to do the high-stakes testing. How are these kids going to pass it? So therefore, you guys are going to look like a bunch of asses when it comes time for evaluations for our district. Because the grade's going to be down in the toilet. And Kevin Regal. I have sat here, he has brought up something very dangerous for our students over and over and over. It is not addressed. He's been shot down by Miss Morgan. I've been shot down by Miss Morgan. We are your employer. I am going to instruct this board to hold to the rules, hold Miss Graham to the rules. And if you're not going to do that, we're going to make sure we vote you out. That's the bottom line. You're either going to do your job that we employ you to do, or you're not. And so far, you're not. Thank you.
Lori Fahey.
Hi, Lori Fahey. I did want to mention on the healthy schools, it really concerned me there that they mandate 10 minutes for breakfast and 15 minutes for lunch. I didn't think that was very healthy. But that's not what I came up to speak about. My son, as you know, is in middle school. This semester, he has one elective. Many of the students in middle school have 3 electives. The children that need more help or are placed in remediation for math and reading end up being much more limited on what they can learn to love. And we really need to do something about it. This semester, my son was actually placed in to an elective, which I had told the school I did not want him in. It's computer keyboarding, so that the 6th graders are better able to take the computerized test, which you all know my son is not taking. So I do not want him in computer class. He already has 2 classes where he's sitting in front of a computer all day. This is not helping him love to learn. And I'm coming up here, I've gone through the right channels, I spoke with the vice principal, the principal. They're telling me there's no other electives in that period for him to go into, so he has to take one that's basically a required class. It's not an elective. This is not a fair, appropriate, free education. And I know my son's not the only one in this situation, so that's why I'm coming to you and speaking with all of you about it, because there are so many other parents who either are not aware or are not coming forward. So
Thank you, Ms.
please
Fahey.
look
Your time
into
is
it.
up, ma'am.
Chris Quackenbush.
Lori's sad story isn't just herself. It's all over the state, and about a dozen of us went up to Tallahassee because you told us to. And we went up there and we achieved what is no less than a miracle. We have a bill, and I want to tell you a couple of key points about the bill. The good news is, number one, it addresses standards, what they're learning. The commissioner will select several of the best standards from pre-2009 for the local districts to select. So this restores local control. These standards for English and math are free, not copyrighted, well vetted, and highly rated, higher than our existing standards. Districts will have local control to choose from the list based on their varied needs, because Florida is different from the different kinds of districts we have. Accountability, yes, we need a measure, but there's already nationally normed tests that will do a much better job comparing us to the rest of the nation than creating a new test just for Florida and spending our $226 million on it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. These tests can be administered on paper. and taken at the student's own desk, eliminating the musical chairs now needed to address the lack of computers for testing. That's costing us, by the way, about $2 billion in this state. This has, by some reports, absorbed as much as 40% of class time for learning. Going to paper tests, we can reduce costs by billions of scarce education dollars and increase time for learning. It will also allow schools more control of the data to prevent data mining. Students' individual data can be retained at the district, aggregated, and sent away for results. Parents can opt out of these tests. These are all parts of the bill. We're going to have a need for everyone to help us get this passed. This is a major lift, and we have a lot of political headwinds to fight. There's much to do, and we invite you to help us get it passed. We're going to have a major event, March 5th, March for the Children in Tallahassee. We want to see busloads of people, thousands and thousands of people from all over the state join us, locking arms left, right, and center, because this is not a political issue. We can't allow them to throw our children under the... Mr. Fox.
Wanted to thank the board for my appointment to the Finance Advisory Committee. I will use that opportunity to do everything I can as quickly as possible to get this district out of debt and never have to borrow a penny again to operate. It's the only way you'll ever achieve your vision of a world-class thing. Every problem in here tonight, underneath it, agitating, is the debt. And I applaud the conversation today about moving towards a special referendum. It's money well spent. I think we should have money budgeted for a referendum every year. Because if you're going to teach civics to your children, there's nothing more civic than an election. And if you're going to teach finance to your children, there's no better advice than to be out of debt. And that's going to be my guiding principle on the Student Advisory Council. If you teach it in the classrooms, you should do it right here. And so thank you very much. I look forward to working with everybody. And when the special referendum does come up, don't stop short with just the sales tax. Go for the debt reduction, the debt retirement, which the law allows. I didn't hear any discussion on that. That $48 million that gets spent in debt service could maybe pay for this tutoring service, which I think is fabulous. It's breaking my heart to hear it's going away. Those are the things to achieve. I mean, screaming and yelling, and for you Common Cores out there, Common Core will not go away until this district is out of debt. Simple as that. Yeah. So it won't. But thank you very much. Just keep working at it, and let's get this done. The public will go for it. They will approve it if they know the facts. Thank you.
Coral Bowden.
Evening, board members, Mr. Martin, student rep, and Dr. Graham. My name is Coral Bowden, and I have recently retired from a wonderful 44 years professional career in education, 36 of which is in Lee County. My purpose of speaking to you tonight is also to encourage you, but also perhaps represent much of the audience. As I stand before you, I am so reminded of our freedom of speech, the very fact that we have a school board that's elected in this country. But my freedom of speech, the way I've been taught, does not permit me to slander, to accuse, to defame, or disrupt. My civil disobedience is one of my rights, but my understanding is it's only necessary in matters of immoral behavior, unethical, or matters of conspiracy. As a citizen of this wonderful elected system, I view my position is to support you, to support your decisions. That also means I'm allowed to question your decisions, regardless of whether I voted for you or not, By voting for you, I have said I submit to your authority. The fact that you've taken on a world-class view, a goal to be a world-class school district is remarkable and lofty, and that tells me that I'm working with people who have creative ideas, are out-of-the-box thinkers, and I'm in for some global reoccurrence. None of you sought this position
Thank you, Ms. Bowden. Your time is up, ma'am.
for fame.
Holly Lopez.
I'm Holly Lopez from Bonita Springs Middle School's PTO president. I wanted to talk to you for a second about the high school down there. I loved watching the meeting at 2 o'clock. I really appreciate that being over the internet, because all of our parents cannot get up here. It's too far. So I hope a lot of them enjoyed it. And I want to thank you for at least preliminarily supporting Bonita as the place to put the high school. But I want to stress that it's an urgent matter. The portables and the double sessions is not going to work. It's difficult. I think, Ms. Dozier, you indicated there would be pushback from kids that have to swap schools midway, so the sooner the better. My older sister went through the double sessions at Norfolk Myers Cape High growing up, and it was rough. So I would like permission to get my parents and all of the parents in Bonita involved to help you come to this decision and help you find the right place, wherever it is, and allow us to use ParentLink to spread the word. We have a lot of Hispanic parents, and communication is very hard down there, particularly the distance involved with coming up here. So if you would, I'd like y'all to talk and let me know if I can spread the word through ParentLink and give out some council members' addresses and your addresses and maybe get a little involvement down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we do board member comments, since there are 5 people who've addressed the issue of tutoring, I thought it might be helpful if Dr. Graham again spoke to the after-school support for children who were receiving tutoring services.
The decision was made based on the data that we received after the pre and post test of the children, and it was, in the past, we have not had common pre and post tests. Each tutoring company was allowed to use their own instrument to determine the progress children were making. Based on the projected progress that would be expected, there was a much lesser result from the vendors as well, and we didn't get exactly what we wanted from Superstars either, which is our internal program. The research is very clear that the greatest regression happens in the summer, and that the best we can do for the children is to keep them going, particularly those who are struggling, to keep them going during the summer months. And that was the foundation, that the data and the research was the foundation for making the decision to make a change. The timing is unfortunate. This particular contract had to be a January to January, which is unusual for us. Usually we do things from July to June. So that's the reason it had to stop mid-year. We were unable to create a contract that would just be for the remainder of the school year. Having said all that, Superstars does continue within the schoolhouse, and to my knowledge, though, I've asked Mrs. Coots and Ms. LaFountain to be sure the parents that spoke tonight are spoken to directly by staff. The schools have contacted those who no longer have the advantage of the outside tutor to be sure that they understand how to get involved in Superstars. There's no time allowed in, time allowed out. They can enter at any time. In addition, the remediation that goes on anyway, whether children are tutored or not, continues to occur. There are multiple interventions depending on children's individual needs that are taking place in the schools. So I believe we're doing the right thing in moving forward with the 5th quarter. The data suggests that we need to do something different. I've committed to those in the community who have talked to me that when we pull the data after we follow these kids as they get into the new school year, and we look at what they've done by the end of the summer, we will certainly revisit if we don't believe that the progress we're making is significant.
Thank you. Okay, board member comments. I'm going to remind board members that comments are about the agenda, public comments, future events, and please do not respond to call-outs from the audience. Mrs. Fisher.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. I'm going to be brief. I want to thank, our Lee County school kids certainly do have talent, and I want to thank the Orange River Tigers chorus for coming and entertaining all of us tonight, and as Mr. Cummings said, lifting our spirits. I too am looking forward to tomorrow when there'll be site visits for the Leader in Me schools, Skyline Elementary, Patriot Elementary, and San Carlos. So that's a very exciting thing, and you can visit any one of those schools and see the effect that that program has on the development of those children, not only academically, but personally and socially also. On Thursday, the Drug Free Coalition will be sponsoring a free and open to the public lunch and learn, and it's about emerging trends in drug abuse, which is a situation that impacts a lot of our students and families. So I encourage you, if you want to bring a bag lunch and come and learn a little bit more about what our kids are doing on a daily basis, not all of them, some of them, I encourage you to attend at 11 o'clock at the Cape Coral Police Department. I've had conversations with Mr. Getz, who is the president of the Substitute Teachers Association, for years. I've attended some of their trainings. I know how hard he has worked. I know how important substitute teachers are to our daily operations. There are hundreds of substitute teachers in our classrooms every day. They should be treated with respect. They should have a place in this building. They are critical to the operation of this district, and I think we need to recognize that and revisit any decision to tell them that they don't have a place in this building. Regarding the tutoring, the impact on people and families is not evidenced in the data that we collect. When we hear the parents talk about the gains that their kids make, and we know how it personally impacts them, and we hear the teachers talk about how when they're tutoring a student, siblings and parents are learning also, that's another thing that we need to really consider. Sometimes in our efforts to be efficient and effective and to look at the data and the research, we miss some very important points. We are a business that deals with people. We need to start considering all the impact we have on people. I want to congratulate the newly appointed administrators, and I know how hard they're going to be working, and I know what a great job they're going to do. I want to thank our student representative, Tommy Short, for visiting with us once again, and for always having a smile on his face. He also lifts our spirits. We've been working all day since this morning. Yes, we were at the maintenance building, and we couldn't walk around and talk to people because we were at the table working diligently. And I want to thank Susan and Linda and the Fort Myers Institute of Technology for providing food and preparing everything, and for our staff, Dr. Carlin, for supporting us with necessary information. And to my colleagues on the board, it's been a long day, and I want to thank you also for hanging in there. Let's all keep in mind our mission to empower every student to meet his or her maximum personal potential. Thank you.
Oh, I'm I'm sorry, Mrs. Dozier.
Thank you. I too would like to welcome Tommy Short for being here, and I'll expect that tardy essay on my desk first thing in the morning. I'm just pulling your leg. I think it's very important as a board that we say why we vote against something. And this is something I have really been wrestling with, and I want to thank one of the members of the audience, Mr. Valente, that basically said, you know, the federal government should not be involved in our schools. I couldn't agree more, and that is my philosophy. That is what I stand for. And when it came down to it, you know, there are several other pieces of the policy that I do not like, that I do not agree with, and therefore, in my heart, I just don't think it's in the best interest of children. A health care program, yes, I agree with, but the way this has gone, the way we've gone about this, I'm just not sure. And I know that you've put a lot of work into this, and it's nothing against you, and I want you to realize that it's nothing against you, that it's my inner philosophy that I had to go along with. So, board members, this has been a very long day, and it's, talk about mentally taxing. It has certainly been a mentally taxing day, and I want to thank all of you for your cooperation in all of the meetings that we had, because we had two very, very difficult meetings today. The one this morning, and then, of course, the one to talk about the school in Bonita Springs and the funding and everything else. But the cooperative nature and the way that we reached finalization on some things, I think, is going to serve this community well. So I certainly appreciate that. And I'm still, the fact that I'm still concerned about the tutoring program and that people are not getting the message. So I'm glad that you're going to have everybody talk to, but are there going to be more people that are just finding out? So somehow we've got to send some type of a communication to all the parents that have been tutored, because I don't think it's over. I think that there are still people that are finding out that their children are not being serviced. So if there's some way we can do some type of communication with all of those, that would be my druthers. I would appreciate us being able to notify those. In fact, that was my concern when you initially came to me and talked to me about this program in the fifth quarter. I said, I want to make sure that, you know, we're communicating with everybody and everybody understands that, you know, they will have these options, and somehow that got lost in the mix. So I want to be sure that we take care of that. I want to thank all the people that come and speak so passionately on behalf of about your ideas about Common Core, about the high-stakes testing. And I think that we truly are on the same page. I think we're all going to be up there lobbying very heavily, because I know we understand what it actually does to students. And I want to thank Miss Borland, the 44-year teacher, for
Coral Bowden.
Cora Bowden, yeah, Cora Bowden, yeah, the 44-year teacher in retirement after 36 years in Lee County. Wow, thank you for your commitment, and thank you for teaching for 44 years and being in the Lee County School District for 36 years. And thank you for your respectful comments that you made this evening. And Ms. Lopez, I certainly hope that we can all come together, because this is a very important thing that we are doing, and it's not something that any of us take lightly. Watching the meeting, I'm sure you saw that this afternoon. Some of us had very heavy hearts at this meeting about the way we're going about doing it, and if we're doing the right thing. You know, we're struggling with a lot of issues, and I will tell you, I'm just going to put it out there. The meeting today was basically talking about funding, and you know, funding is something that in Lee County, I know I heard somebody say $1,200, per student, that ought to be enough money. Well, you say that lightly, but all of the services, if you go to a lot of private schools, charter schools, those students are not going to have all of the opportunities that the students here in Lee County have. And when you look at the amount of funding per student, we rank in the lowest among all of the states. We are in the bottom quartile. So to sit here and try to advocate that you think that's a good amount, I would beg to differ with you, and I would tell you that people around the state every day advocate for additional funding because we don't feel like we have the adequate funding. That's one of the reasons that we lose so many teachers every year. And I wish that we had a solution for that, and that's another reason that we go to Tallahassee. With that being said, I appreciate, Ms. Quackenbush, your work on this bill, and I will certainly be advocating for it. Thank you.
Mr. Teuber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things. First off, I agree with Ms. Fisher. Marvin Getz with the substitute teachers. Our substitute teachers are critical part of our puzzle. They definitely deserve the respect of the district, and I will. Mr. Getz has already left, but I will speak with Mr. Getz, and I will continue to work on this issue. There had been two speakers that spoke. Mr. Valenta talked about we didn't agree with something, but we still approved at the end. What I brought forward was I didn't agree with the process. The changes had already been made. Had we not approved it, then you talk about a disruption. Now we have to undo it. So that would create even more disruption, and that was my concern because they didn't follow the process, which this is not the time nor the issue to bring up the process issue, and that can be addressed at a different time. This was about specifically whether or not we approve 5 moves, and then I followed up with the moves were predicated on the fact that we had a new grant that now required one of the principals from our district to be moved downtown to administer that grant. When that person left, it created a domino effect that Dr. Graham, I think, adeptly made 5 moves to fill all the different holes, and I think it will solve some other issues that we had in the district. So she made the decision, I'm going to disrupt, I might as well do it and fix a lot of the ills that have been plaguing us. So I support the move. I just wish it could have been done a different way, and I think that message was made clear. The funding, we don't have $13,000 per student. Half is operating, half is capital. So half we get paid on an FEFP schedule, that half of that actually goes to our capital, which is actually dollars spent to maintain the existing buildings and structures that we currently have. We have investments, in the billions of dollars of capital investment of the taxpayers, that if we don't continue to get that FEFP spending for the capital, the dollars go to those values go to zero. So we have a lot of assets that are worth a lot of money because they are properly maintained. Our schools are 40, 50 years old, and they're still like they were when they were built. So we're addressing that. We addressed that today about trying to fix it on a capital, on a preventive maintenance schedule versus a corrective. I wanted to talk to Ms. Holly Lopez. I really appreciate your input, and we need as many people from Bonita Springs. We need as many people involved. We want all the community stakeholders to get involved on how we do this. We want to do it right, and we can only do it right if everybody, the input from everybody. So definitely one of the avenues that you can use with your school is your SAC and your DAC, because we're trying to improve that. Speaking of the DAC, and just to the board members, one of the things that were addressed is that when we had our DAC meetings, the recess continues to come to surface, and one of the big issues was not so much about that we're now and I don't know, because this was before I was on the board, is it a policy change or was it a directive? I don't know exactly. Whatever it was, what their concern was not so much what the directive was, but why? What's the directive for? Why are they doing it? Is it because if it's to break up the educational load on those kindergartners, then if that's it is, then say it. If it's just they think they need more time to play, then say it. Whatever it is, they don't really care. They just want to know, say it so that all the schools know, and here's the reason why. If it's to break up the load that you want to give kids their brain a break, then some of the schools that are putting recess, kids are coming into school, putting their book bag down and then being sent out to recess. Well, that's not achieving that goal. So I think that this board, what I ask is that we would consider maybe have a discussion so that we can relay to the whole district and back to I can bring that back to the AC. Why are we having recess? That's all I want to know. What's the reason? Because then you can start looking at, once you understand the reason, then you can see, are the schools, what they're doing, implementing recess, is that achieving that goal? Because if we just put something out there and don't even say why we're doing it, then we're all over the map. And that's what Dak's concerned about.
And I think,
Okay, so that was that issue. The other issue, we voted on a resolution to approve the calendar. One of the things that is my constant consternation and is our break. You know, we go for break for over Christmas, and we come back, we do 17 days, and we test for the end of semester. And, you know, if we were to move back, actually 19 days, but this time, but if we were to consider, if we can push back and start earlier, that we would actually be done with it. You know, when we break for break, we break for break, and then we start new at a new semester. I really think this board has to make a real concerted effort on how to do that. And I know, I'm not an educator, because I know the balance of how much, you know, with the days that we have, how it's all scheduled. So I know it's not an easy thing, and I know Ms. Mutznar, who's been on the committee forever and a day, because I sat on it once and it gave me a headache because of all the things that I didn't understand. But I just want to continue. It's still a concern of mine, and I'm not going to get off it. So it just got brought up again. And I think that's about all and the last thing is I really want to thank Orange River Elementary, Ms. Mansell, for letting her students there. But Ms. Ickstadt, who's actually the teacher, you guys didn't get to see, if you saw the performance and you saw all the kids and how graphic, you know, how animated they were and they were singing, you didn't see 1/100th of what we saw when we saw the teacher really rocking it. I mean, she was so animated and so alive and so much passion displaying to those kids that they were just a bouncing board of her enthusiasm. And I just, you know, to see it, you just can't get enough of it. If you ever get a chance, go to one of our schools, see some of our teachers in action, and see the passion they have for their kids. It will literally amaze you, and I just encourage everybody to, before you talk about a school, go visit it and see, and I guarantee it'll change your opinion. So that's all I have to say.
Ms. LaRiviere.
Okay, I do have to say, I agree. Having Orange River students here was amazing. I had to ask one little boy if he ever does smile, because he was so stoic all the way through. And with a music teacher like that one, I couldn't quite figure out why he could stay there so straight-faced the entire time. But that was a blessing. The parents aren't here, but the fact that the parents came all the way from their community and took the time and effort to bring the students here, really appreciate that. Okay, I agree with the sentiments of Ms. Fisher and with Mr. Teuber with regards to Marvin Getz' concerns regarding the substitute teachers not having a place. And so I believe I would like to see that relooked at. I'm going backwards in my notes. Ms. Lopez, thank you for coming tonight and being so willing to do whatever you can to assist us in the process. And it is all a process. Tess, thank you for all that you do. And thank you for continually to be writing the letters to legislatures and being an advocate for that. I want to let you know I appreciate that. And I am looking forward to being at San Carlos bright and early tomorrow morning. And so I will be there and then visiting Skyline and Patriot as well. I won't be able to go to Let's Stop Testing. I will have been in Port Charlotte all day. And then coming back, I just don't know if I'll have it in me to drive down to Bonita. But I did attend one of the sessions, and any others that will take place, I will try my best to be there. Mr. Regal, when you and I spoke briefly after the board meeting on the 13th, and you had voiced that there was concern that I might have been unclear about some information. and you had said that you would provide that to me, and I was expecting a call or a contact so we could discuss those pieces. I did not intentionally lie with my statement that I made at the last board meeting. I could not remember, and I should not have said anything. I was trying to remember the pieces, because we had been briefed on information to try to explain some pieces. So I did not intentionally try to lie at that meeting. I did see the email with your attachments. I apologize that I was not able to respond to you or to even preview those prior to this evening, as we literally had no time for anything else. I will be looking through those, and if you would still like to meet with me, I would be more than glad to. I just had anticipated during this interim that would have taken place. So I apologize if there is never an intentionality on my part to lie or misrepresent anything, but I do make mistakes. I attribute it to a head injury, and sometimes the thoughts don't come there. Lori, I do agree with you. We have a state law that, dadgum, we swear to uphold the Constitution, but then it also says that I have to, support, protect, defend the Constitution and the government, which includes laws and statutes that are put in place. And that part really drives me crazy and has driven me crazy since, gee willikers, I can't remember how long ago I went to Cypress Lake Middle School and had to deal with that issue of an intensive reading kid for those students that scored 2s and 1s, and my frustration over the scheduling. We need to have something in place, something needs to happen, and we try to do what we can do. I don't know what we can do outside of trying to make life as enjoyable as possible, but I would hope that they could find another elective for your child that would be more stimulating and engaging for him, because that's what an elective really needs to be. Chris, thank you for all that you've done with support to the bill. I will tell you honestly, I will not be driving up to Tallahassee on March 5th, because the next week I'm driving up to Tallahassee on March the 9th, and we'll be up there. So I won't be able to be there for that event. I do encourage members of the community to speak with Chris. Chris for sure I know, but any others who are planning on being there, so that you can find out what you can do to be there to participate in it. And Mary, I'm trying to, and I will go back and I will watch the board meeting. I can't remember a point where I did request for something to be pulled for discussion. I don't remember that there was something that I said I wasn't going to vote for and then voted for. So I don't believe that occurred. I will go back and relook at the meeting with regard to others of us on the board. Sometimes we may have an initial reaction that we decide that we don't necessarily want to vote for something, but upon hearing conversation, it may change our minds. This is our only time we can talk about things and we can hear input. So I would hope that those of us when we vote, if we will think about things as a result of all the pieces that we've heard. And maybe we do have to go back and change our thinking from what we thought we would do. Thank you to all of you who are here for your caring and being part of the process. And I greatly appreciate everyone for everything that you do. I appreciate those of you who come back and come out each time we meet and speak ardently. I appreciate those who have been part of the tutoring process and are concerned about what's going to happen with these munchkins now. I get that. All I can say is we're going to do our darndest to do the best thing we can for those children, and I would hope that and I know, I have the confidence that our principals will get the information out there so the students will be able to participate in the pieces that will be there for them. And I look forward to seeing what kinds of things happen over the summer. And I plan on visiting in some of those schools to see what's going on. And I'm looking forward to seeing some exciting things happen.
Mr. Short.
All right, I'll make it quick. So, Cypress Lake High School, things are going really well. We have an a cappella group called the A Cappella Group. We actually won Album of the Year for the A Cappella Review Board, which is really cool.
Awesome.
And then one more thing, and then I'm done. So, on the weekend, February 6th, 7th, and 8th, in the theater department, we're putting on Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It's a absurdist comedy by Tom Stoppard. It's based in the world of Hamlet, and it's hilarious. I'm in it. You should come see it. $5, February 6th to 8th, 7 p.m. Thank you.
And thank you. Let's see. Holly Lopez, I think the answer to your question has already been given by the superintendent. I think that there has been conversation about PTO, PTA use of ParentLink to provide information to parents, and so I think, are we not squared away on that? I'm looking at you, Dr. Graham.
If a school makes a request for a parent link, we certainly honor it. So I'm sure if the PTO has made that request to the principal, it will come.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I do appreciate that. I also share everybody else's concern. I think the tutoring decision was the right one, but I'm not sure it was rolled out in a way that was helpful to a lot of families in the community. And I know from talking to Dr. Graham that a lot of effort is being made to reach out to parents who were affected by this decision, and I hope that will happen. For those of you who have not followed us all day, we started at 9 a.m. this morning. We finished at about 1:35. We started a meeting here at 2 o'clock. We left at 5:35. We started a meeting here at 6 o'clock, and Mr. Teuber said, not very kindly, that he thought it was Mrs. Morgan's idea of a diet.
A weight reduction.
A weight reduction
Well,
program.
and actually, 5:35, at 5:45, we had the music.
Okay, whatever. This is not my idea of a weight reduction
And eating
program.
all day.
But when you see that some of us have had trouble focusing, it's because some of us have not eaten since like 11 o'clock this morning. So, and I wanted to thank the board because I think for all the time we spent today, it was hard work, but it was really good work.
It was good work.
And I think, what can I say? Thank you. I thought it was great work, good time, and we need to do more, and I look forward to that work. So, thank you. Mr. Martin.
Yes, Ms. Morgan, board members, just one piece of information with respect to the opening day for schools. There is a bill filed in the legislature. It's House Bill 349. It does not have a Senate companion at this point. That would change that law and provide that the time frame would be 21 rather than 14 days before Labor Day. I'm not sure 1 week helps, but I wanted to make you aware the bill exists. It's been filed.
Thank you. Dr. Graham.
First, the kids were adorable, and I was up here at the beginning, the 15 minutes before I moved to watch them. And we learned something tonight. When young children come sing, we have to turn that screen off. Because what I saw from the teacher the 15 minutes before the meeting was, stop looking at the TV. So we learned something tonight, but we are grateful that they came. It may look simple to get a group of children or of any age here on a weeknight to perform, so we appreciate the work that goes into that from those who participate. We have been named by the American Heart Association as a Gold Fit Friendly Work Site, and suggests that we have demonstrated a strong commitment to providing a healthy workplace for employees. So we're encouraged by that. That's a tribute to where we're going with wellness and the board's support of that. Also, Superintendent Advisory met last week, the Student Advisory, and they had quite a conversation about energy management in the schools, and they had talked to us about it before, so we had the same presentation you all received was given to them. And I warned the principals the next day they'd be hearing from the representatives, because all the children, they wanted to not only see the district overall savings and the plan that was in place to continue to save energy, but also their individual schools. So the race is on, and the kids are after it, so that's exciting. Leader and Me, we are very excited about the schools that are going to be visited tomorrow, and also on Thursday at a Leader and Me conference in Charlotte County. Skyline is going to be recognized as the first Lighthouse School, Leader and Me Lighthouse School in Lee County. They are the 104th of the 1,990 schools that are working through the Leader and Me process to receive this recognition. So we will be there to celebrate with them on Thursday. And I know that several staff members will be at the schools tomorrow with those visits, because that's part of the process. So we're very excited to support those. As I don't remember which one of you said, maybe a few of you said it, there was a letter sent home when the decision was made to go to fifth quarter. Clearly, it didn't say enough to have the response we're having on this end of it. So we have the schools and staff here at the district have, and I know Ms. LaFountain has, we've made many, many personal contacts with people, and we're responding to them. And those, as I said, those that spoke tonight, we will be sure that all those people know that there are still plenty of opportunities for them to get some individual instruction. The Substitutes Association is more than welcome in this building. They do training here. We support that. The issue is that Mr. Getz had a private space that he used as an office. We had to move it from where it was because it was in an area where confidential information is dealt with among the staff there. That private space was given to him by a prior administration, and we've moved him to a different place where there isn't confidential information to the end of the year. We thought giving him plenty of notice would give him time. There's no other association that we provide free space to. So if the board wants to give me different instruction, obviously I work at the will of the board, but that's the background to that. And the other thing I don't know how many of you noticed the quote. I know Ms. Morgan did because I was standing next to her, but the young lady who was recognized tonight for her drawing in her quote on commitment, and it said, "Never give up on something you really want. It's difficult to wait, but even more difficult to regret." And we asked her, who said that? She did. So I thought that was pretty amazing to come from a student. And I also, and I am not a suck-up, I know you all know that, but my first thought was, when I heard it, what you all did all day today was just another indicator of your commitment to be the best individual board members you can be, but also be the best working board that you can be. And it's difficult to wait because there's so many things we want right now. We're a huge organization, and the results of good work takes time. So I'm grateful for your commitment and willingness to put in the time and the willingness to wait on some of those things that we want right now. It remains an honor to lead this district.
Thank you. The next scheduled meetings of the board on Monday, February 9th, there's a school board briefing meeting at 2 p.m. as well as the school board action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this board, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. LaRiviere, seconded by Mrs. Dozier.